Hello, everyone. Let me just get my introduction on the screen. Sorry, I just lost my slide. Give me just a second here, and we'll get started. Sorry, sometimes the Google Hangout plays tricks on me. Give me just a second here. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. Okay, first an introduction. Hello, everyone. This hour on Verbling, the next in my we just did Great Show Stories. The next in my Getting Results in Business series, we're just beginning a new unit in our business class on how to be on schedule, how to talk about project management. We're working on the vocabulary section today, so we're going to be doing a little reading and try to pick up some key vocabulary on how to do project management, how to talk about scheduling, how to work with the team, how to talk about short-term goals, and all these sort of things in a business context. That's a little bit about my class. Here's a little bit about me. I'm Jon-Eric, your Verbling teacher for this hour. I'm an American teacher from New York, hanging out in Lisbon, Portugal to bring you this class. By the way, here are 3 quick rules to help you participate in my class. Don't forget to turn off, tune in, and open up. That means when you're not speaking, please turn off your microphone so we can keep the classroom nice and quiet. When you are speaking, tune in to the new words that you're learning so that I can give you feedback and correct you. And finally, open up to your classmates. Relax and have fun. We're all here to learn, and this is a safe and respectful place to practice your English. And before I get to meet new students, I'm going to just say hello to all of you. Let me first quickly get the presentation on the screen, just so you can see what it looks like. There we go. Now you can see it. And if you don't have it open, you can just click on this link I'm going to give you. This is presentation. Okay, there is the presentation link, and I'm going to give you a second link, which is our notes, where if I make corrections, I'll try to put them there in the notes. Okay, so you might want to open those on your computer. You don't need to open the presentation. I'm going to share it with you, but if you want to see it close up, then you can open it, and there we go. All right, so let me just say hello to some new faces. I'm going to get my name on screen first. Give me just, whoops, give me just a second here. A little bit hard to get my name on screen. Give me just a second. Because if I don't put my name on screen, you might not know that I'm the teacher. And I don't want that to happen. Give me a second. There we go. Okay, now you can see me and my name. So, let me just say hello to let's see, who's the first person I saw was Francesc or Francesc. How do I say your name?
Yes, Francesc. Hi, teacher.
Francesc. And where are you from, Francesc?
I'm from Spain, but it's a Catalan name.
Oh, so you've been here before, haven't you?
Yes.
Ah, okay. But it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, and I changed my picture.
Yeah, that always confuses me. If you change your picture, I get confused. But now that you mention it's Catalan, I remember talking to you about this before, vaguely.
Yes.
So you're in Barcelona?
No, I'm right near from Valencia.
Oh, you're farther south. Okay, very good, very good. And let me say hello to Max. I think you're in faith as well. Hello, Max.
Hello, teacher.
Hi, Max. Where are you from?
I come from Italy, from Turin. At this moment, I'm at work, of course, during a pause to do my English course. And I'm very happy to be in your classroom.
Okay, very good. You're in Turin, you said.
Yes, of course. I'm in Turin. That is in north-west of Italy, in Europe.
Okay, very good, very good. All right, it's great to have you, Max. And let's say a little welcome back to Jason and Tony. And And Jose Antonio, you've got your camera on, so I don't know if I've had you in class before, because I usually recognize people by their...
Sí, lo escucho.
Hello, Antonio?
Hi.
Hello?
I have some problem with my microphone, okay? Let me some minutes.
Your microphone sounds fine to me. Sounds okay. Everything sounds good, Jose. Where are you from, Jose?
I'm from Spain.
But have you been in the class before? Because I haven't...
It's my first time.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Okay, excellent. So listen, now that we've done a little introduction,
Okay.
I'm going to share the presentation that we're going to use on screen. You can see it right here. All right? And if you want to open it, you can click on the link in the chat window if you want to, but you don't need to. You can just follow along on screen. So, in this unit so far, we've just started to talk about managing projects. We're going to be talking about that today. Eventually, we're going to be asking for and giving updates on projects, looking at the key expressions we can use to update. We'll be making and responding to suggestions in those updates, what you as a boss might say to your staff, what your boss might say to you. Sometimes when you're updating a project, it happens when you're catching up with a colleague. You haven't seen them in a while. So we'll look at the practical language you can use when you're catching up with someone that you haven't seen. You've been busy, they've been busy, or something like that. And we'll end the unit before the end, before our final task. We're going to be updating on a current project using the present perfect and the past simple. So we'll be revising those two verb tenses. The difference between have done and did, have gone and went. But that will be later on, not in today's class, later on in the unit. For today, we're still working on managing projects, the language we'll use to discuss that. Let's get started here. Yesterday, we had a brief discussion on these 4 questions about your experience, and the vocabulary that we came up with is in the notes. Let me see if I can just get the page for you. In the notes on July 21st, which is on page 5 of our notes. Okay, I'm not going to share my screen with you, but if you click on the notes document and go to page 5, you'll see some vocabulary we generated as we talked about those questions. Some of it was technical, like scaffolding and hydraulics, but a lot of it was really good project management vocabulary like KPI, key performance indicators, budgets, talking about a human factor of project management, talking about risk management, logistics, different things that might come up. Oh, another really good vocabulary word yesterday was to liaise with someone. In doing a project, you may have to liaise with others. That means connect with them, because we actually use the French word in English, liaise. We say it differently, but we use it. Okay, and today, in today's class, the 22nd of July, I'll be putting more vocabulary and corrections there on page 5 as we go along, okay? So, let's move on to working with words. What are the 5 most common problems in managing projects? Read the text and compare your ideas. Before we read the text, let me just get a sense from the group. Give me 1 or 2 common problems that come up in project management. Some of this we talked about yesterday, but just quickly, what's an idea that you have off the top of your head that might be a common problem in project management? Any ideas before we start? There's no right or wrong, just your experience.
Well, the deviation on the budget and on time.
What was the first word you said? The deviation?
Deviation. Well, the
deviation from the budget, like if you go over budget or under budget.
Yeah. Over,
oh, I see.
Over budget.
going over budget is really the problem, isn't it? Yeah. So going over budget. Rather than deviation, we would say going over budget is definitely a problem with management, with the project management. Absolutely. That's something you've got to look out for. Great. And the other thing you said was what, Tony? I couldn't hear the second thing.
Going over time with delays.
Right, right. So there we're going to say, you can say going over time, but that doesn't really have a negative meaning per se. But if you say not meeting, what's our key word? Not meeting what? Not meeting, what's the key word for time? You've got to do things on time, right? You've got to meet your what? Okay.
I don't know.
Really? How do you say, in Portuguese we say prazo. In Spanish I don't know what the word is. Is it the same? What do you call the last possible date that you have to where you have to finish the project by?
Well, the milestone.
No?
Say again?
Time limit, no?
Another word for time limit, yeah. Time limit, but another word, a business word for time limit.
Deadline could be?
Absolutely. That's the word I'm looking for. So rather than say going over time, which is okay, you could say it, the key word would be deadline. Not meeting your deadlines. Not meeting your deadlines. That sounds much clearer in business English because everyone knows what a deadline is. Deadline because you're dead if you don't finish it. If you don't reach the finish line on time, you're dead. Deadlines. Okay, so those are some ideas. Let's read this text and see if we've got some other things that we might not have thought of, okay? So I'm going to start on my screen. If I go from left to right, it starts with Francesc, and then Jason, and then Max, and then Raphael, and then Tony, and then Yuki. So Francesc, we're going to start with you with number 1, okay? Don't worry
Okay.
about the solution. Skip the solution. Just read the text for us.
Happy to read the text? Yes.
Yeah. We'll do the solutions later, so don't worry about that.
Yeah,
But
okay.
just read the text first.
Not enough planning time. The planning stage may not be as exciting as the development stage, but it's just as important, if not more so. Lack of planning will always result in changes later on, eating up money and man hours.
Very good. What are man hours? Do you know what that means? Are those the hours that men are allowed to work and women hours are different? What are man hours?
I think man hours is hours, men working hours.
Uh-huh. So, do you think that we should use the word man hours in English? Or do you think it's not the best word? I say that because it has the word man in it, and that sounds a little sexist to me. So,
Yes, a little bit sexist, but I don't know. Man hours, I really think it's a good definition. It's a short word, and
short
it will be
words?
fine.
Oh, it's short words. I see. So it's fast to say. Yeah, I just have a pet peeve with sexist terms because there's always another way to say it. So I feel like sometimes people aren't looking for the best way to say things, but you do hear it a lot. So it means the hour where you're doing work. The man hours are the hours where you're doing work.
Yeah.
But I don't have a good substitute, but I think we should avoid that kind of language. Just my personal opinion. The reason I say that is because if you go to another culture, particularly American urban culture, and you say things like that, people might not say anything, but they'll notice and they'll judge you for it. That's why I bring it up, because you could really be judged negatively.
Maybe working hours.
Yeah, working hours. It just sounds. It's. Why not say that? Anyway, I'm just pointing it out because I don't want you to be in a situation where you offend someone and don't realize why. So that's why I bring it up. In other cultures, particularly in urban cultures where these are big issues, in other words, people are really sensitive to it. If you go out in the middle of the country somewhere, you're in a more relaxed environment, you might be offended by some of the things they say. I'm saying it's a different culture, different values, and I don't know. So we should be aware of it. That's my point. Jason, can you take number 2, just the text for us?
Yes. Communication breakdowns. Anyone who runs a business knows that communication is absolutely vital to the success of any project.
Vital or vital?
Vital?
Vital or vital?
Vital?
Vital or vital?
Vital?
Vital. Very good. There you go. Okay. Very good, Jason.
Breakdowns can occur between the project team and the end users, the clients or employees, and there can also be problems between the individual members inside the project team.
Okay. By the way, when you see IE, I guess you could say IE. You could say it, or you could just say for instance or for example, because that's no, actually it's not really the same. EG would be for instance. So this would be. I'm just trying to think how we might read that besides just IE. We might say that is to say, because you're giving an example. You're giving an example. That is to say, because it's literally. Well, it doesn't matter what the Latin means. But anyway, you say it in every language. But I'm saying instead of reading it, you might say that is to say, or yeah. I guess it's basically the same as for instance. So communication breakdowns. Well, let's go through the other parts of the text, and then we'll discuss it rather than discussing each point. And then I've got a little task for you to do. So let's go on to Max. I think you're next. Take number 3 for us.
Teacher, you are talking to me, right?
That's right, Max.
Okay, sorry, because I have a lot of problems with the sound today. Okay, I read. If most of all of your projects run behind schedule,
wait, number 3. Wait, number 3.
Ah, number 3. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay. Unrealistic budget. If your budget is unrealistic to start with, it will be impossible to stay within budget, of course. As you run out of money, departments fall behind, resources are slow to arrive, and because of budget constraint, goes out, of course.
Goes out of
I think,
control.
and yeah, okay, gets out of control. I have to propose a solution.
Not yet. We're going to read all the options first, and then I've got a little task where we're going to find solutions to these problems. So we'll discuss it in just a moment, okay?
Okay.
All right. And Raphael, can you take 4 for us?
Yep. Not checking progress. As the project goes along, the unexpected happens. Various different people use their own ideas to fix these challenges. And when you are on the point of finishing, you are suddenly faced with a huge list of problems that need to be addressed, and you miss the deadline.
Okay. Very good and careful reading. Very good. Let me just correct 2 things. Progress can be 2 different words. It can be a verb, to progress, and it can be a noun, progress. Here, it's obviously a noun, because you're checking something. If it's a thing, it's got to be a noun. So the stress is on the second syllable. So let me hear you say, progress. First syllable, yes, sorry. Can I just hear you say progress?
Progress.
Right. And now as the verb, to progress.
To progress.
Right. So as a verb, it's on the second syllable. Okay? It was that and was going to ask you about something else. I forgot what it was. What was the thing? So just remember, you change the part of speech from noun to verb or verb to noun. We often change the stress of the word, the syllable which is emphasized. Just keep that in mind in general. The example I always give is record and record, because everyone knows that word, so it's easy to remember. But this one is also the same, to progress and progress. By the way, let me just say a quick hello to Antonio, who's just joining us right now, and Giuseppe as well. I just saw you come in. Antonio, is this your first class, or are you the old Antonio with a new picture? Which Antonio are you?
Hello. Hello. Yes, I started with you in
Hello,
another
Antonio?
class, but I changed my photo. Hello.
Oh, okay,
Hello?
okay. When you change your photo, I get confused. Okay. Hello. Yes, we can hear you. No problem. So you're Antonio from Spain,
Yes,
right?
Antonio from Spain. Yes.
Okay, okay. I know who you are. Okay. All right. And let's go to Tony. You're going to read number 5 for us. That's the last one. Then we're going to discuss these as a group. Okay?
Okay. Not reviewing existing standards. In most of all of your projects run behind the schedule and over budget. Ask yourself if you maintain the same standards time after time. Do they work? If you keep doing the same thing, you are likely to get the same results.
Absolutely. If you keep doing the same thing, you're likely to get the same results. That reminds me of that famous quote by Albert Einstein. The definition of insanity is to do the same thing and expect different results. So, standards. Okay, well, we've got some ideas here besides going over budget or not meeting your deadlines. We've got some other ideas here that we can talk about. So what we're going to do here is 2 things. Got a question for you, and I've got some solutions later on, which you'll see. But let's go to the first question. As a group, I'm going to ask this. Anyone can answer. We can discuss it. How do the problems mentioned in the text affect the project? What solution can you think of for each problem? I don't want you to go through every solution to every point here, but just in a general sense, because I've got some solutions I want you to think about. So just in general, how do the problems mentioned in the text affect projects in general, and what solutions would you possibly come up with to help? Okay, so what are some ideas we have as a group so far? Hello?
Oh, if you want to have a realistic if you want to do things in a good way, you have in a project you have to make meetings weekly in order
Make, do, or have meetings. Make, do, or have meetings.
Make meetings or make meetings? No, or do. I don't know.
I would say have meetings.
Have meetings. Okay.
Yeah,
have meetings.
Have meetings.
Thank you. Have
so
meetings
if you want to
yes.
if you want to be realistic, if you should have meetings on a weekly basis, maybe.
Yes.
Is that? Oh, okay, very good. And which point will that help us with out of those 5 points?
I think the first one.
Let's go back and take a look at the first one. Not enough planning time. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay, very good, very good.
In order to check what is the process?
In order to check what the process is, we should have weekly meetings and get a sense of where we're going.
Yes, and then you can make changes if you want in order to make these adjustments.
And also, you have an advantage that everyone's on the same page. Do you know that expression, on the same page? Have you heard that before?
No.
Yuki, have you heard the expression on the same page?
On
To
the
be on the
same
same page.
Yes,
Yes.
I heard its expression. It means having a common language. Yeah.
Yeah,
No?
exactly. Having a common language, so we're all talking about the same thing in the same
Common
way,
point.
and a common picture. Everyone has the same
Common picture. Yes.
as well. Absolutely. So the same language to describe things, and the same general point of view. I agree. Okay. And Giuseppe, because I haven't heard your musical voice today, can you think of another solution for any of the 5 problems? So let's just take a quick look review. We have planning time, communication, budgeting, checking progress, and standards. So would you add anything to the first point, just out of curiosity?
To the first point, I might mention as well that the organization it's all about the success of managing a project.
Organization.
Organization, yeah? Yes.
Being organized.
Exactly.
Is that what you mean? Okay, because when you say the organization, that could also mean a company is an organization, a government is an organization. So you mean organization, not the organization. You got to drop the article. Organization is the key to success in project management.
Yes.
In other words, not the organization, because that would mean a company. So if you drop the article the, and you just say organization, that means the abstract idea of being organized. So organization is the key to success. Can you give us an illustration of what you mean? I agree with you, but can you give us an example? How does organization the key to success?
Because if you plan out your project, you won't eat enough money. You won't waste the time, and you will meet for sure the deadline of the project.
Okay, very good. So that's really all about point 1, about planning time. That's basically about point 1. Okay, sounds good. I agree. And as a class, before we move on, are there any other points that you want to comment on besides planning time, communication, budget, progress, standards? Standards is an interesting one, by the way. I think that's one that really does get overlooked, in my personal opinion, generally speaking. But anyway, I'll leave it up to you. So any other comments before we look at solutions?
I also think existing standard is a very big point and big problem we have to avoid. You know, very successful business sometimes have a problem, and in this time it is very important to find a direction and changing method, changing policy is very important. So
you mean being flexible?
Yes. I think entrepreneur have to be always flexible. You know, now Microsoft, a very successful company in Windows, said that they are now decreasing the number of workers. So
More than decreasing them, they're laying them off.
yes, lay off.
They're making them redundant. Like 18,000 people are going to lose their
Yes,
jobs.
they are planning of lay off 18,000 people. I think this company now lose control, lost the direction. I think such a company need to reviewing existing standards.
Okay, very good. So that's about not the product standards, but that's about the standards of the labor standards, how they're treating the employees, you mean? You're talking more about how they treat the employee rather than the standards of the products they're producing. Is that right?
Yes, I'd like to say that the company have to be aware, always aware in their business, and defining right direction, including existing standards.
Yeah. Also, they're laying off the people
quitting business. Maybe.
Right, but they're laying off the people from Nokia, right? Because they acquired.
Yes, Nokia. Yes, Nokia lost control, and their business, mobile business, has been bought by Microsoft. Now Microsoft likely lose control.
Well, yeah, we'll see. I mean, I guess the point is that if the product standards were up to par, if they were really focusing on the product standards, then they wouldn't have to lay off so many people either. So, I mean, part of the problem is that maybe their product just did not keep up with the market. And then, of course, they sell it to Microsoft, and the CEOs get a nice bonus, and they get to jump ship. They get the golden parachute. But the people who work there are at the fate of Microsoft. So it's pretty rough. I wouldn't want to work for Nokia right now. Well, I guess it could happen to any of us, I suppose. Well, anyway, let's take a look at, so good point. Let's take a look at some solutions. I want you to match some of the suggested solutions you're going to see on screen to the problems in the first text. Then you have to give your opinion. Do you agree with the solutions? Why or why not? And we can work on some target language there of how to express an opinion as you start to do it. I might give you some feedback. Okay? Let's quickly read the suggestions first. Okay? So, Giuseppe, you read. We're just going to go around the room again. Actually, we're back to Francesc. So, Francesc, I can't say your name. Francesc. I hope I'm saying that right.
That's correct.
Okay, good. Francesc, you read A, Giuseppe B, Jason
Yes.
C, Max D, and Raphael E. Let's see what our choices are. Go ahead, Francesc.
Okay. Never assume that everyone understands. Make sure that everyone can talk to each other and share information. Resolve any conflicts straight away or you will run into a lot of problems and complications later on.
All right. Let's read our choices first, then we'll talk about which they match with, okay? And we'll discuss whether we agree or not. Giuseppe, you're on B?
Take time to review how projects have gone in the past. Keep a running list of what worked, what didn't, and how to do it better next time.
Okay, very good. Jason?
Spend longer on research and preparation. Make contingency plans and don't just concentrate on making it to market before your competition. If you get there first but your product is faulty, you will get nothing but complaints and a bad reputation.
All right. Keep going there. I think, Max, you're on D.
Create an accurate forecast. Outline ways to develop better upfront planning of the resources. Make sure you allocate enough funds to each department and keep track of spending.
Okay, very good. And what do you think they mean by upfront planning? because that's not a normal term we see every day. What do you think they mean by that, Max?
Upfront planning, I think that does mean to do an immediate planning. To do something upfront is to do before to start.
Exactly.
For example, if I do an offer to a client of mine,
If I
ask
make
him.
an offer.
Okay, I make an offer to a client of mine. I ask him to give me, for example, 30% upfront, and then just before to start to the kickoff meeting of the project itself, he has to give me the 30%, and this is an upfront.
Okay, very good. Good definition. By the way, remember, afterwards, like before, you don't need to say to start. Before starting, because before and adjectives, adverbs and prepositions like before usually are followed by the ing form in English.
Okay.
So before starting, not before to start, but before starting, he'd have to give you 30%. Okay, very good. I agree. And Raphael, can you take E for us?
Define checkpoints throughout the project so you stay on track. Monitors everyone's performance and prioritize tasks when there is a problem. Addressing problems quickly will save time later. You can still make the launch date you've set or even finish ahead of a schedule.
Okay, good. Just one thing. Repeat the word project.
Project.
Yeah, I've got to hear that j sound because obviously in Spanish it's a y, but in English it's a j, like John. So project.
Project.
That's it. Okay, are these points clear, everyone? Any questions about the meaning of those 5 points? Pretty clear? Yeah? Clear. Okay, very good. So, now let's go back and match them. Okay, hopefully you can remember the 5 points. I'll put them on screen if you want. But I'd like to hear your answers about which matches with which and why. Okay? So, who's got a match for A? Who's got a match for A? No one. Who's got a match for B?
I think the A.
Oh, you got a match for A. Go for it. Yeah.
It's a problem. It's a kind of solution for communications problems. Could be.
Okay, so we go back here. Communication was 2. Okay, very good. So A matches with 2, and I agree with you completely. Why? Why would you say that though? I agree, but tell me why.
Because one of the most interesting communication problems is that you are saying something, but your interlocutor get another thing. Even though you say the same thing to people, they get different translation, different meanings.
Interpretations.
Right. For this reason, you need to check if everyone understands what understand them.
What they understood.
Well, yeah, sorry. What they understood.
What they understood.
What they understood.
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly if you're using English, the language of business. Pretty soon it'll probably be Chinese, but for the moment it's still English. So everyone brings their own meaning. And remember, there's a million kinds of Englishes. There's not one English. So there's factors even beyond your personal use of English. There's also the problem that English in Ireland is different than English in the United States, and English in Florida is different than the English in New York. It really is different. We often misunderstand each other as Americans. So it's the fact that you're doing business in a foreign language. Drawing pictures is a good idea. Giving examples is a good idea. Anything that can make it more concrete. So, fantastic job. I agree completely. Very good point. Okay. Well, let's go through the other points. Who's got B? What do you think B matches with?
Matches with the 0.5.
B with 5. Okay, I agree 100%. Tell us why you think it matches with 5. 5 is the one about standards, right?
Yeah, standards.
Okay. Yeah.
And especially if you do the same, if you work always on the same project, you're most likely to be accurate to be to get the same results.
So
and you don't waste the time if you follow the standards, the guidelines, I mean.
Okay. So let me see if I got that right. You're saying that, so here it says, take time to review how the projects have gone in the past, keep a ring list of what worked and what didn't. So what you're saying is B should be your guidelines that you should adhere to in the future. That's what you mean? Did I get that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
If you follow a procedure for all the projects, you will certainly fine. Otherwise, if you make any changes, you probably get wrong.
You could, but Yuki told us earlier that we have to be flexible. So, so which is it?
Depends. Of course.
Where's the balance?
Of course, you won't be 100% sure that everything is gonna be right, and then you will probably face some challenge and some trouble, some conflict, and so on.
Well, we say challenges. It's always a good business word. Challenges. You might face some challenges. Sure, absolutely. Okay, but we've got to.
I meant a flexible because I think a company should evaluate the current situation and especially real situation of market. For example, Microsoft has a big successful story in the Windows in consumer personal computer market, but now this company is struggling with the very little share in the mobile phone, smartphone market. I heard the share of Microsoft mobile Windows in the US is around 3%. It is quite little than Apple and Google.
Right.
Yes, it's one. So I think this company now isn't to be flexible. Don't see correctly the situation in the real market. So that kind of.
So in terms of but in terms of a project, one thing that they might want to do is, this is what I think Giuseppe was getting at, is try to take their failures and turn them into guidelines. I think that's what Giuseppe was trying to say, basically, if I understood correctly, that you've got to use the past to shape how you do things in the future. So if they're smart, they'll look at where Nokia went wrong, and they'll make that part of their strategy to win back market share, if they're smart. We'll see. We'll see how smart they are. Because otherwise, I don't know why they bought the company. It seems kind of strange, but well, we'll find out. They bought Skype too. Now there's advertising all over Skype. So I guess they want a piece of Skype. They see what Google is doing. Well, we've got 3 more, so I'd like to see if we can match up those final 3. And as we're doing this, you give me your personal opinion, and then we'll see if we can come to reach a kind of class consensus at the end. Okay? So what about C, spending longer on research and preparation? Which do you think that matches with?
Oh, I think spend longer on research and preparation is very important. and making contingency plans, you have to compare with your competitors your product. And
Ooh, we're having microphone problems. Be careful with your microphone because we're hearing a lot of static. A little hard to hear you. So,
yes.
Are you touching your microphone at all right now?
No. I don't touch it.
Okay, so it's your connection, Francesc. You might want to leave and come back into the classroom because we're getting really bad.
I'm going to do that. Okay.
Okay. See you in a minute. Okay. We'll get his answer in just a second. What about the last two? So what about creating an accurate forecast, outlining ways to develop upfront planning, and then also this idea of creating checkpoints throughout the project? Any ideas about where those would match? So Francesco was saying that C matches with the very first point, I believe. What about D? Where does that match? Go ahead, Jason.
Sure.
I would say part D will match with unrealistic budget. It's part 3.
Let's go back there. Yeah, unrealistic budget. Okay, got it. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. Why? Tell us why. And then, Francisco, we'll go back to you in just a second. But go ahead, Jason.
Is right now?
We'll come back to you. Yeah, it sounds good. We'll get back to you in just a moment, Francisco.
Okay.
So finish what you were saying, Jason.
Yes. As far as I can say, it's important to make accurate forecasting for the budget.
For the budget?
Yes. If you want to be if you want to meet the needs of if you want to comply with the needs of the customer.
Yes. The needs of the? I didn't hear the final word. I heard the needs of, if you want to comply with the needs of.
Yeah, of the need of the customer, or I don't know, of the department.
Okay. Or even of the needs of the project that have been outlined. Yeah, even with that. So creating an accurate forecast, if we go back to part 3, the budget is one of the things you have to see in advance, in other words. So the word forecast links up with budget right away because it's something you plan in advance. So if for no other reason than for that, because you do plan the budget in advance. You don't make it up as you go along. Absolutely. Okay, and sorry, Francesc, we cut you off earlier because of your microphone. So you were saying that C matches with the first point, is that right?
Yes, I was talking about the C point.
Francesc?
Yes. Could you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, I was talking about spend longer.
Yes, go right ahead. Finish what you were saying.
Okay, spending longer on research is a very good point. I think a part of making contingency plans, you have to check and compare your product against your competitors in order to get a good product. So in this case, the marketing will be easier because this mouth to mouth is strongly a good way to
word to mouth.
Word to mouth. It's a very strongly
that's right
marketing for you, and I think it's related.
Okay, very good.
With I don't know, not reviewing existing standards. It would help you to make a realistic budget, and I think it's the main thing in this matter. Have a good product.
All right. And not just the budget, but also just planning time. I mean, just the first
Yes.
one, in general, the planning, right?
Yes.
So the budget, all those things are a part of the planning. So maybe it's more about planning than anything else. Okay, sounds good so far. And the last point is E, defining checkpoints. Max, let me ask you about this one. What do you think about this? Which of those points do you think this would be a good solution for, based on what we've read so far, Max?
I think that this could be a good solution for the point number 4, if I remember well, because to define checkpoints and to control all the checkpoints, it's very important. In fact, in not checking progress, if you don't check the progress, you can have a lot of problems, and of course. You have the opportunity to go out of the deadline, and this is one of the big problems in all the projects.
Instead of saying out of the deadline, that you have the opportunity to. Actually, I don't know if we want to say opportunity. We'd rather say you might miss your deadline.
Okay.
You might miss your deadline instead of out of. It's miss your deadline.
Okay, to miss the deadline. Okay, of course. And then I think that the E match with the number 4. I think.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think you got them all right, all of you. So, round of applause for everyone. I think we got them all. We're going to finish with a little bit of vocabulary here. So on screen, you can see a bunch of words that came up in the text. These are words which you must use in the rest of the lessons in this unit. So I'm going to give you a homework where you can practice this. But let's get familiar with these. So before we run out of time here, we're going to go through and we're going to decide. Do you associate these phrases from the text with successful or unsuccessful projects, or both? We're going to label these so that they're fresh in your memory, and then tomorrow we're going to start using them. So pay attention, and I've got a little assignment for you to do. If not tonight, then tomorrow. I'm not sure when I'm going to give it to you, okay? But let's go through and decide. We'll go right through them, and you just tell me if it's S or U, successful or unsuccessful. All right? So let's go from right to left this time, starting with Yuki.
Yes, I think run out of money is run out of money turned out unsuccessful in business.
Absolutely. So running out of money means
unsuccessful project.
And I'd like you to link it back to one of those 5 points. So it would mean what exactly if you ran out of money? What didn't you do well? What did you do well if you ran out of money?
I think a company would accumulate plenty of money before embarking on the business.
They should have the necessary capital before they embark on a project, right? They need to have the necessary capital. We call that the overhead. Don't forget that word, the overhead.
Overhead, yes.
The overhead of a project. The thing that if you've got enough overhead, you've got your rear end covered. If you have enough overhead, your backside is covered. So overhead is the capital that you need. Okay, I agree.
Yes. So
and let's go through the whole list. Sorry.
Should have enough plan to estimate the overhead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. It's also good contingency. We talked. Francesc mentioned contingency plans. So having the right amount of money is a good contingency. Okay, Raphael. Next one, going from left to right here. Read it for us and tell us what you associate with successful or unsuccessful projects. Raphael, you got to turn on your microphone. Raphael, are you there? Uh-oh, I don't hear Raphael. Okay, we're on to Max. So Yuki talked about running out of money. The next one, Max?
Within budget.
Hello, Max?
Hello? Hello, teacher, I'm
Uh-oh.
here.
Can anyone hear me?
Okay.
I hear you.
Oh,
Max.
okay. Sorry. Go ahead, Max. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. The second one is within budget.
Yes.
But I think that
maybe
you
go
can't
ahead.
hear me.
I don't hear a teacher's voice, but I hear you, Max. Maybe you.
No, I hear you. It's okay. Don't worry.
Go on, please. Okay. Max, go on.
So would that be for a successful or unsuccessful project? By the way, when you do these, when you're giving your opinion, try your best to link it back to one of those 5 points. Try to use some of the collocated words. For example, running out of money, well, that's a sign that you didn't have contingency planning. That's one of the things we said in part 1. So Max, see if you can link it back to one of the 5 points we talked about and tell me if you associate this with being successful or unsuccessful in a project.
I really don't know, just because I
think
don't
we
know
have a little delay here.
I don't know the meaning of the word within. Can you tell me, please?
Within is inside. It means inside.
Inside
the limits.
Of course, and then of course
in,
it
not
is
out.
Okay, in, and then it is a good thing for the project because within budget it does mean, I think, that I am using only a part of the budget to do the whole project, and then I think that this is a very good thing.
Okay, very good. And if you go back to
I think maybe your voice is slow, teacher.
Yeah,
John.
maybe it's me. I don't know.
It's because of you.
Maybe.
but I hear you simultaneously, constantly. So I don't know what's the problem.
I don't know either. Well, anyway, just linking it back here to unrealistic budget. If you're being realistic, so as you're describing that, Max, you might want to link it back to point 3. So, yeah, if you have a realistic budget, you'll always be within budget if you've done enough planning. Okay, so try to link it back if you can to those points. Well, we're going to go a little bit over time. If you stick around, I can give like 2 or 3 more minutes because I have another class starting. But let's just finish up a few more vocabulary words. Or let's do this, because we really don't have time. Let me give you this as a homework. Let me send this to you after class as a homework. And what you could do is categorize the words and give a little explanation about 2 or 3 of these from your own experience. I'll ask you to do it as a short writing, which I will correct. Okay? So I'll send that to you as a homework because if we go on, I'm going to miss my next class. But just to finish, let me just put something on screen before we go. If my Google Hangout is working, which it's not. Oh, there we go. Before we go, let me just give you a little bit of feedback. In this class, some of the notes I've taken so far are, keep in mind the expression, going over budget, meeting or not meeting deadlines. You have to be realistic or being realistic. These were all corrections that I'd made earlier. This one should stay on the same page. If everyone is on the same page, that means you've done enough planning and everyone has an overview of the project. And as Yuki pointed out, that they're using the same language. That's kind of important. They're using a common language, that we're not calling different things by different names. The organization means a company, but organization without the means the concept of being organized. So drop the article if you're talking about the idea of organizing. 2 good vocabulary words from earlier. Yuki mentioned Nokia, so they're laying off workers or making them redundant. So that means that they're firing them, but not because they did something wrong, because the company probably did something wrong and they can't pay them. So being redundant, being made redundant, or being laid off means you're getting fired, but it's not your fault. Being flexible instead of I forgot what the word was. I corrected it and I forgot what it was. Anyway, being flexible. The opposite of flexible is rigid. So when we're talking about how to adhere to standards, we've got flexibility and rigidity. You've got to be flexible, not too rigid, but you've got to stick to the standards. So there's a balance there. We often say challenges rather than problems because problems is very negative and challenges sounds much more positive, like you can meet a challenge, but a problem sounds like something you maybe can't, succeed in. Finally, overhead is part of your contingency planning. If you have enough capital, you can start a company. You have to have enough overhead to start the company. So overhead is a way of saying having enough capital. Usually it's about money. You can get the project or the business done the way you want. All right, we're going to have to stop there, but as I said, I'm going to turn this. Let me get my screen back on before we go. I'm going to turn that vocabulary exercise into a homework. Come on, camera. I don't know what's going on with my camera. I'm going to turn that into a homework, and I'll give it to you after class in the chat window, okay? And I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to finish our vocabulary section tomorrow, where we're going to learn a second set of vocabulary and do a speaking task where you get to put these into use, okay? So I'll be back tomorrow at 10 GMT for speaking skills and 11 GMT for the next in how to be on schedule. It was really good participation from everyone today. Very good job. You got all the answers right. Okay, that's it for now. Bye for now. See you soon.
Bye, teacher.
Bye.
See
See
you
you
soon.
soon. Bye-bye.
Bye for now. Thank you.